Hello, this is Cynthia Rojas Rangel, and today I will be talking about investing in public schools, a need in Arizona. Did you know that in the fiscal year of 2022, Arizona's statewide average per pupil spending was on average of 10,729? It definitely may seem like a lot, right? But what if I told you that Arizona actually ranks last in the nation per student spending in public schools? Definitely pretty alarming, right? So, to shed a little bit more light, that same year, New York's statewide average per pupil spending was actually 31,259. Very big difference. And to share additional light on Arizona's statewide spending, many reports dating back from 2016 actually show that Arizona spends more on state and local prisons than their own public schools. That, again, is a very alarming statistic. So, with that in mind, I believe that everyone should become an advocate for an increase in public school spending and demand that the state of Arizona allocates the appropriate spending to all its public school districts. And considering Arizona's spending, it is right to say that advocating for public school spending is crucial. So, to define per student spending is really saying, it represents how much money that state and school districts spend per student for their day-to-day functions or activities. In this case, it's teacher pay, any again resources that assist students. So that's really what per student spending means. So if I reference that, again, that is what per student spending is. So to shed some light on the background, these are things to know in regards to K-12 funding. So K-12 education is actually funded by a plethora and different kinds of taxes, but for the most part, local taxpayers, whether it's via property taxes, tax credits, PTO/PTA, fundraising, and other means of funding have definitely assisted in again funding public education as of now. But there have been, various repeated efforts, both voter approved and legislatively adopted measures that have definitely influenced the allocation of this K-12 funding. So, for example, propositions were voter approved. The Great Recession influenced Arizona to create cuts, for sure, and propositions that created solutions to increase funding were actually ruled out. So these events in Arizona's history have definitely widely impacted the way we see public school funding now. And one thing that's very interesting to note is that Arizona uses a school funding formula to determine the base amount of funds its school districts receive each year for every student. So there are some exceptions where some schools may receive additional funding. So this can either be to cover students with disabilities or even English language learners, etc. But this last thing is very alarming is that Arizona's funding formula is quite old and has not been revisited for more than 30 plus years. So again, these are some things to know in regards to this, and of course are very important as well. I know firsthand the impact of how low student spending looks in Arizona. I personally was part of the Deer Valley Unified School District, also known as DVUSD, all throughout my K to 12 years. And in addition, I have 5 years of experience working in higher education where I've actually had the opportunity to work with a variety of different K to 12 schools throughout the valley that are part of that public school system. And in addition to this, I have also conducted an interview with a public school teacher whose son at the time attended a private school. And what we did was analyze that student and the school experience. And I have also been part of a community community organization called Arizona Center of Empowerment, also known as ACE, where we truly strive to advocate for proper public school funding by connecting with Arizona representatives and the legislator here in Arizona. And really having been part of DVUSD and having worked with various public schools, I can attest that there is a serious concern on how Arizona is spending and funding our schools. And there are a plethora of credible studies and reports that shed light on Arizona school spending and funding and how it compares nationally. So some of these credible sources include the Arizona Auditor General, Arizona School Board Association, and as well the Census Bureau. I will present today the need for advocacy to increase public school spending and demand that Arizona do just that. In addition, I'll present a plan for advocacy and then evidence supporting how advocating for an increase in public school funding will bring that change that we need. Then, how advocating for an increase in public school funding is both workable and practical. Following that, why advocating is the best way to demand change. And then we'll be diving into a possible objection to becoming an advocate and demanding appropriate state public funding, or public spending in this case. And finally, an additional advantage for becoming an advocate and demanding that Arizona allocates the appropriate spending to public school districts. Learning and advocating for proper public school funding is important to you because you might have learned and grown as a student in a public school, or you may know someone who has. So this topic is also important to you because a great majority of our Arizona students attend a public school. In just 2022 alone, Arizona had over 970,000 students enrolled in public schools. And truly, these students are our future. And I will now share why you should advocate for Arizona to increase its public school spending and the steps to get there. Mary McKillop and Danielle Ferry note in their journal articles starting from the bottom, First Steps to Improve School Funding in Arizona, that Arizona's school funding system ranks at the bottom of the nation. And in addition, in the year 2019, Arizona actually earned low marks on Making the Grade 2019, which is a report that analyzes and evaluates states on funding levels, funding distributions, and things like funding efforts. And diving a little bit more deeper, Arizona continues to not meet adequate overall funding levels, and deficits in essential public school educational resources, including teacher shortages, will definitely be continuing. And one of the things is that this greatly affects students and their educational learning, as they are truly lacking the proper resources and opportunities that they need to excel in school. And in an examination of public education in Arizona compared to the nation, which is a report written by Arizona State University professor Denny Hoffman and Associate Director for the Center of Competitiveness and Prosperity Research, Tom Rex, stated that Arizona's low funding per student is a significant issue. And there truly is a correlation between how low funding per student and low educational achievement and attainment contribute to the low household incomes and high poverty rates experienced in Arizona. So one of the things that is that this may actually result from a lack of workforce availability and quality due to low educational achievement and attainment. And looking into the future, I really say that in order to advocate for Arizona to increase its public school spending, I believe that everyone should email their district legislator or representative to advocate for change. And in addition, I believe that everyone should certainly use social media as a tool to increase awareness on this matter. And here is why. We've seen that more money for schools means better student outcomes. For example, Bruce D. Baker, who's a professor of education at Rutgers University, pointed out that a 21.7% increase in per student spending throughout K-12 for students from low-income families is large enough to eliminate the education attainment gap between students from these lower socioeconomic families and higher socioeconomic families. And another thing that we've noted is that even small levels of spending have also made a significant improvement in the educational outcomes, such as test scores and graduation rates of these students. And truly, resources count. In an analysis made by Baker, I saw that an increase in public school spending will certainly allow for an increase in teacher wages. And according to Baker, there is a strong association between an increase in teacher wages and student achievement. Why? Because more capable teachers are recruited and attained, which is certainly a need here in Arizona. And finally, Arizona will definitely economically benefit in the long run. So increasing public school spending and per pupil spending will certainly increase the number of high school graduates who will be college and career bound. And as a result, this will create economic growth at the state and national levels. And truly, advocating for change in this topic is both workable and practical. For example, writing an email to your district representative is quick and simple, as there are templates that you can use online that can assist you in writing to these representatives. And this process can certainly take less than 25 minutes. And another thing too, using social media is such a quick and easy outlet to raise awareness and inspire others to join that advocacy initiative to, again, demand change in Arizona at a such larger scale. And I believe that advocating for Arizona to increase its public school spending is certainly the best way to make that change happen. Teacher and student strikes have occurred in the past, and although they're great initiatives that bring awareness to issues, others may presume a strike with a negative perspective, whereas, advocating in the sense of writing to your representative or, again, using social media would definitely be seen as in a more positive light. If you attended a private school or are pro private schools, you actually may question, why, Cynthia? Why should I advocate for an increase in public school funding? Well, it's important to keep in mind that in Arizona alone, 1,150,000 students attend publicly funded K-12 schools, and approximately 910,000 students, or of these students, attended one or more of 2,000 district public schools in Arizona. So they are, again, definitely our future, who will then become our new educators, leaders, doctors, and essential workers here in our state that, again, will be paving that way for a better Arizona. As we can see, public schools are the educational foundation for most of our students. And in a journal article titled Pennsylvania's Best Investment, the Social and Economic Benefits of Public Education, written by Associate Professor of Education Dr. Dana Mitra, they write that research clearly shows that those who graduate and have access to quality K-12 education are more likely to gain what's called gainful employment, have stable families, and be active and productive citizens. And in addition, research has also shown that quality education minimizes that risk of crime being committed in society in general. And, advocating for better public school funding is worthwhile. You are certainly paving the way for a better tomorrow and are using your power and voice as a member of this state, and you will certainly cultivate new opportunities and become a great citizen who certainly uses their civil duty for a good cause. Today, I have shared with you that Arizona schools funding system ranks at the bottom of the nation, and that students and their educational learning are affected as they are not being provided the proper resources and opportunities to excel, again, due to a low state spending in public schools. And I also share that a correlation was found between low funding per students and low educational achievement and attainment, which then again contribute to additional barriers in the future for these students. I also shared that more money for schools means better student outcomes, such as significant improvements in test scores and graduation rates. And an increase in public school spending will also allow for an increase in teacher wages, which will again positively affect student achievement because, again, more capable teachers are recruited and retained. And then Arizona will certainly economically benefit in the long run, as we will have college and career bound students and things like that. And then I definitely share that advocating for change is both workable and practical. So whether it's sending an email to a district representative or even using social media, it's definitely a really quick and easy way to bring awareness to this issue. And, advocating for Arizona to increase its public school spending is, again, certainly the best way to advocate for change because, as we see, others may presume initiatives such as like a strike in a negative perspective. And finally, a majority of students in Arizona attend public schools. So advocating for Arizona to increase that school spending towards these schools will certainly benefit our future professionals in the long run, as they are more likely to gain gainful employment, have stable families, and again, be active, productive citizens in the state of Arizona. And to assist you in your advocacy, I have prepared a little guide or a sheet with helpful links that will provide you not only the email of your state representative or state rep, but also I embedded a link where it'll assist you in finding your legislative district so then you know who your state representative is. In addition to that, I have also added a link to the Arizona Education Association, which is a platform to learn more about the perspective of Arizona educators and the state bills that we should be watching out for. Malcolm X once said that education is a passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. So, with this in mind, let us prepare for Arizona's future. And I truly look forward to seeing everyone advocating for change for these future generations to come.